The Liar. The Beginning, Part 1. A risen Exo stood, dazed, in the middle of what looked like a giant library. He'd never been here before, as far as he could remember. He'd never been anywhere before. He couldn't remember anything, and all he had to go on was the name given to him by a strange silver drone. A name he didn't even recognize. Felwinter. All around him were giant gilded shelves, half of them broken, littered with tattered books and cracked cylindrical cases. He stepped on a book and broke its spine as he walked. The little drone followed him. "I know you don't trust me," it said, "but you have no choice. Who else have you got?"
"I don't know,"
Felwinter said. He thought for a second.
"I don't know anything."
"Exactly, so you should listen to me." The soaring height of the ceilings made the building feel like an open space. Remnants of an old fresco loomed over his head, cracked and faded. Maybe it was beautiful once. Felwinter trudged through the empty fog of his memory, trying to understand how he got here. "You're stubborn, obviously, but if we stay here long enough, you're gonna die." Felwinter tried to tune out the little drone's voice. He needed to think. He picked his way through the ocean of books, but stopped dead when an explosion rocked the building. He looked up. Dust fell from the faded ceiling in clouds. "See?" the drone said. "This is what I mean. We have to go. A place like this isn't safe." Beside them, a computer terminal, one that looked broken beyond repair, flickered to life. The building shuddered again. A warbling female voice came over a PA system, crackling and distant. "Site-wide lockdown initiated." Then, a reassuring male voice, smooth but made eerie by the warped quality of the recording. "All library patrons, please report to the nearest emergency station. If you require assistance, an attendant can help you at the reception." The recording cut off, and the building shook again. Metal shutters began to descend over the windows, groaning from age and disuse. Something big hit the building, and debris showered over them. "We should hide," the drone said, and Felwinter had no choice but to agree. They fled the library. Outside, crouched in the rubble of another building, they watched together as the library was crushed under a torrent of what looked to Felwinter like falling stars. "See?" the drone said. The Beginning, Part 2. Felwinter and the drone traveled for 3 days. They saw nothing and no one. On the third night, still walking, Felwinter looked up and saw meteors like streamers against the night sky. He was struck by the sight, and then by one meteor in particular, blazing orange, getting bigger and bigger in the sky. "Run," the drone said. The first meteor hit the ground behind them. Not a meteor at all, Felwinter realized when he looked back, but something metal, man-made. The second hit its target. He died. 6 deaths later, crawling out from under metal wreckage, losing pieces of himself, clawing, running, they finally managed to find shelter in a cave.
"No,"
Felwinter said, as if he were swallowing all of his words and choking on them.
"No."
"I can't fix you," the drone said after scanning him. "That last hit corrupted write-protected processes in your cognition modules." The drone spun uneasily. "You're an Exo. Exos were made in the Golden Age with proprietary tech. I can't hack into your head to fix the damage, but I can rebuild you as you were. If you shot yourself, I could work quicker." He did. When the drone resurrected him, Felwinter crumpled to his knees. He sat down and put his head in his hands.
"Why is this happening?"
he asked. He looked at the drone, trying to read its body language.
"Because of you? It's after you, isn't it?"
"No," the drone said. "I don't know why." Then it gentled its voice. The Traveler told me to save you. That something was different about you.
That ball in the sky you showed me, it talked to you?
I can't explain it. Felwinter grunted and held his head again. His body ached with the memory of 7 deaths, though he knew that was impossible.
Can you explain anything?
Not really. They sat in silence for a while. Eventually the drone spoke up. We shouldn't stay in one place for very long. I don't think it's safe. Felwinter stared at the ground, then finally looked up at the drone.
How will I sleep?
You don't need to.
But I want to.
That's fine. The name. 6 months of running taught Felwinter 2 lessons about life. The first lesson was this: anything could happen at any time, without explanation or reason. The second lesson was this: it didn't matter how unfair something seemed. Recognition of injustice could not create a just world. There were other lessons too, though those were more tactical. Never rest in the same place twice, and don't rest at all if you can help it. Never cross an open field if a less exposed route exists. Beware of meteor showers. Look out for organic enemies, but don't waste your time avoiding them. They aren't the real threat. That night, Felwinter and the drone sheltered together in the loft of an old barn. A vicious rainstorm outside impaired visibility enough to justify an overnight, but Felwinter couldn't stop himself from thinking, from assessing. Flimsy building. Big empty field. Low attack readiness in this loft. Flimsy building. Big empty field. Low attack readiness. And still, no matter what the drone said, that he didn't need to sleep, he felt an inexplicable exhaustion. He couldn't locate it precisely. It permeated all of him. The drone noticed. It never said anything, but Felwinter knew it noticed. He rested his head on his knees. Beside him, the drone hovered at his shoulder, drifting away occasionally to assess the weather through a glassless window. Eventually, Felwinter raised his head.
What's your name?
He asked the drone quietly. What?
Your name.
He said.
You gave me one. What's yours?
I haven't thought about it. Silence fell between them again. They lived in silence, but in recent days, the silence had changed. If before it was the silence of strangers, now it had become the silence of a team, where each member knew their job and what was at stake if they didn't perform. The lights of Felwinter's eyes narrowed briefly into lines as he thought.
He
glanced at the drone.
Spring.
What? The drone said.
Felspring.
Felwinter said.
That's your name.
They stared at each other. Are you serious? The drone said. Felspring? Felwinter gazed past her. Silence again. Fine, said Felspring. The Assailant. After 3 weeks without any incidents, Felwinter and Felspring stopped avoiding main roads. They started passing by other traveling parties, even a small camp. They never engaged until an exo-risen asked to tag along with them on his way to a place called Red Valley. Neither Felwinter nor Felspring liked the idea, but they both reluctantly accepted it, with an unspoken agreement between them that it shouldn't last. Nice day, isn't it? Said Griffin 11. He looked up at the blue sky and opened his arms. Good traveling weather. We're lucky. Felwinter and Felspring exchanged a look, then focused on the road ahead again. Griffin looked at Felwinter, hoisting his pack up on his shoulder. Where were you headed anyway? You never said. Felwinter took a beat too long to say.
Not sure.
This stumped Griffin, inexplicably, Felwinter thought. Huh, he said. Just walking. You could come with us, said Griffin's ghost. She wore a green and yellow shell with flower-like petals. No, said Felspring. And then, remembering the world of polite conversation, she added, We're going somewhere. We just don't know the name. Griffin and his ghost absorbed the information, nodding. An adventure, Griffin said, finally, with a grin in his voice. Right? This whole world is an adventure, isn't it? And we get 1,000 chances to live it. Felwinter said nothing. He felt uneasy. He rarely spoke, but when he did, he never sounded like Griffin did. His voice never sounded like that. He never even had the impulse to talk that way. Why? They walked on, passing through a string of abandoned factories. There was evidence of the fallen everywhere, but it looked old. Ripped up banners, trampled in the mud. A walker stripped of most of its parts. Griffin loosed his gun from its holster casually, but didn't break his step. Gunfire stuttered out from an open doorway. A bullet clanged off of Felwinter's shoulder like a clapper off of a bell. Arming his rifle, he returned fire in that direction the shots had come from. He should have known this was a bad spot. Low visibility, a lot of corners, squat buildings they couldn't see inside of, hundreds of rusted shipping containers to hide in. The doorway was a decoy. 10, 20, 30 armed and armored combat frames with glowing red eyes spilled out of warehouses to their left and right, moving with discipline and eerie synchrony. The frames began a pincer maneuver, trying to pin them down. Griffin swore.
We have to get to cover,
Felwinter said. Fighting back-to-back, rezzing each other when they died, Felwinter and Griffin took down some 15 frames with gunfire alone, and a few more with grenades. Several got back up despite crippling damage, tottering forward on bent and broken legs, relentless, single-minded. They drew inexorably closer as the two Exos ran down their ammunition and energy. It was Griffin who saved them in the end, with 3 bolts of arc light that erupted out of his hands. As the frames closest to them disintegrated in a shower of blue light, Griffin whooped and said breathlessly, I've never done that before. Felwinter went in to examine one of the mostly intact frames. Griffin followed. Damn, he blurted. Do you know what these are?
No,
Felwinter said. Not Exos. Felspring zipped in between them. She scanned the frame, bathing it in a blue light. She hesitated and then offered. Rasputin? I think so, Griffin's ghost agreed. See this logo? She indicated a symbol on the frame's chassis that looked a little like a military badge. Matches my database. Yeah, said Griffin. He looked at Felwinter. What did you do to get a war mind on your case? Felwinter stared down at the frame.
what's a war mind?
Thank you for joining me today, Guardian. This has been the beginning of the Destiny lore book known as The Liar. One thing you might notice is that this video has been a bit shorter than the other ones I've been making. I'd previously been trying to shoot for around 20 minutes per video, but I think I'm actually going to cut that in half and do about 10 minutes per video, and then I'm going to stop it there, finish the chapter, and record my outro. I think that'll make the videos a lot more manageable, and that means I can get them out faster as well. If you guys like this or don't like this, let me know in the comments. But anyways, wrapping things up, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. The best way to let me know you enjoy my content is to leave a like on the video or put a comment down below. I'll be releasing part 2 of The Liar soon, so I will see you on the next video.